Welcome back to Wrestling Brain. This is our full gear 2023 preview show. Of course, we're going to be going through every match, predicting each and every one, given our excitement level for the show. Now, this is being recorded, full disclosure, on November 16th, a Thursday. We currently have 8 matches announced for what I imagine will be a 12-match card. So the 3-hour Rampage Collision combination 3-hour show, I think, is going to give us more solidified matches, and we can talk about that as we get through it. But I say we, because it is we. It's not me. I'm not doing this alone. No one would watch or listen. I'm doing this with 2 of my favorite people to talk about wrestling with. Of course, one of them is the host of WBCW Meltdown. He's one of my favorite guys to talk to about anything, but wrestling in particular. Andrew C. Slak is here. Slak, how are we doing today, man?
Just lovely to be here, Josh. Thanks for having me, man.
Do you ever touch your beard so much that you feel like you're creating a curve in it?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's terrible. It's it like curves out at the bottom, and somehow whenever I get home from my barber and he trims it up, it always looks like perfect. Like I'm like, I just need you to come home with me every once in a while. The good news is, like we just talked about before the show, is I don't leave my house very often. You know, I'm not too worried about it. It's not really a big problem for me, but I do know what you're talking about.
The great Aaron Campos joining you and I, Slak. Aaron, do you have this with your beard? Like, do you touch it and you are over the long term making it create a shape that you're unhappy with?
I do, as you can probably tell by looking at it right now. And y'all have good beards. Y'all have like actual beards, and mine is not. This is as good as it gets. I got it trimmed last week, and this is as good as it ever looks. So
Slak does set a high bar, but you're being too hard on yourself. I see a lot worse beards than yours running around calling themselves beards, I'll just say. But I don't know what to do, because you're right, Slak. The barber can fix it. He can, but I don't want to go in just for the anyway. Mine's curving to the left. Feels very strange.
It's like you need to get a special comb, and you also need to be blow drying it at the same time, and then you need this like putty, and it's just like fucking forget it, man.
I'm not doing it. There's no chance I'm doing that.
Nope.
Conditioner is as far as I'll go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Aaron, were you watching AEW in the year 2020?
Very rarely. I kind of dropped out of society in the year 2020 and didn't watch anything. I didn't even watch sports. So
what about you, Slak? Were you watching AEW in 2020?
Sure was.
AEW in 2020's Full Gear was headlined by Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Now, if you asked me how long ago that feud was, the answer does not feel like almost 4 years ago, but
crazy.
It's psychotic. 2021's headlined by sort of a classic cornerstone all-timer AEW match, or at least storyline wise, Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. 2022 headlined, I think, one of the more negative we've ever been around here on a pay-per-view, by MJF and Jon Moxley. And now this year, we find ourselves with MJF, Jay White. Slak, I'm going to bounce it to you. Compared to those other main events, how does MJF versus Jay White compare? Mox Kingston, Omega Hangman, and MJF Mox last year.
Well, I'll say in hindsight, Mox Kingston's exciting, but at the time, maybe less so, only because they've had more time to play around with their dynamics since then. So having them revisit that, which we've asked for upon deaf ears, would be great, because there's a lot more to it. It's very nuanced. It would be a wonderful thing to watch play out on screen. I don't think you're going to ever touch Hangman Kenny. I don't know if you can do that. I don't think that's possible. Just by nature of the story and the culmination of a lot of stuff and the two people in it. I love both guys, MJF and Jay White. I want it to be great. I'm nervous that it will be stupid. Even if the match is great, I don't think there's a way that the match is bad. Let me be completely open. Like that's just not possible. I mean, there's a 5% chance that it's not a good match, but I think the stuff surrounding it has the chance to be all-time dumb. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Aaron, I think what Slak's alluding to, and it's entirely on the money, is that this feud has gone on forever between MJF and Jay White, and there have been very good moments and very stupid moments, I would say. I personally am not a huge fan of just the belt stealing portion of this feud. I've said it on the core show, but I'll say it here in case somebody doesn't watch. You can't steal the title of world champion from someone. Stealing the belt doesn't do anything. If MJF goes to AEWshop.com, buys a replica world title, and he's the guy wearing it, that's the world title. He is the AEW world champion. I'll ask you, though, compared to these other main events, just sort of on whole, Does MJF Jay White feel like a big time match to you?
It does, but I would say that it feels like a match that is almost certainly going to be a good match, that I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to say at the end of it, assuming nothing really stupid happens storyline wise, I'm going to say that was a good main event for a pay-per-view. I would be really surprised if it's one that like 2 years from now we're like, oh, you remember. And it's not because of the performers at all. I just think that like the feud has been what it has been. Two super talented performers surrounded by, on Jay White's side, some other super talented performers. On MJF's side, maybe is not as much. But it just hasn't hit for me, really. The belt stealing stuff has been, I'm very mad on it as well. That's a thing you do for a week. You don't do it for 6 months or however long this has been going on. So yeah, I think it's going to be a totally fine, totally reasonable way to end the pay-per-view, but I'm not expecting match of the year type stuff.
Slak, give me an overhead anticipation level as we head into Full Gear, and we'll say lots more about MJF Jay White. I do just want to talk about the tag match before we do that, so we'll get to the actual card in a moment here. But helicopter view me here, Slak. Heading into Full Gear, where are you excited? Now, let's put this out there. Every AEW pay-per-view is sort of ostensibly a 7 on the 1 to 7 scale. We all are going to watch it. We're all excited for AEW pay-per-views. But compared to other AEW pay-per-views, where do you find yourself for Full Gear 2023?
I would say slightly lower. I'm a 7 automatically going into every pay-per-view. I think I said I'm a 6. And again, I'm going to watch it. I'm actually going to the bar to watch it down the street. They show every pay-per-view, which is really cool. You just go in, you sit down and, drink some beer, eat some food. It's great. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think the show's going to be good. I want it to be a 7 coming out. That's like All Out, going into All Out. I think I was in the worst mood I'd ever been in at that point about where we're at. And All Out, I thought, was exceptional. So if they do that, then yeah, great. I really hope that's what happens. But I'm a 6.
Aaron, I feel, and maybe this is just me, and I love, Lord knows I love to romanticize things and make them into bigger than they are. But for me, Full Gear feels gigantic. It sort of feels like everything is on the line for AEW here for me. Now, not in the going out of business way or anything meaningful that could actually lead to the end of the company, but I do feel like in the balance hangs some public perception of AEW, maybe not even public, hardcore fan perception of AEW that has been mixed. I would say this has been one of their more criticized pay-per-view builds. You can sort of feel even some of the hardcore detractors starting to see the holes in the ship a little bit. Are you also sensing this sort of AEW needs a win on Saturday night? Like AEW needs Full Gear to be a hit?
Yeah, 100%. I think going into Wrestle Dream, there was some of the same kind of talk, but Wrestle Dream was a different animal because there wasn't a lot of storyline stuff. It was Wrestle Dream, right? There's all these dream matchups and so it was going to deliver and probably over deliver in a lot of ways, I think, just by nature of the kind of show it was. This is one of their core shows, and this is where they're paying off some big time storylines, or maybe not paying them off, which in some cases would be much worse. And yeah, I mean, if this is a big turd, it's gonna impact how I feel about the show, how excited I am about the show. Like, I'm gonna watch AEW. I have to have wrestling TV to watch. It's not gonna be the other two.
We have the same disorder.
But it's definitely like, there are times when it's like the highlight of my week, and there are times when it's like, I guess it's time to watch this show that I always watch every week. And I don't want it to be that, because that's when you kind of fall out of watching wrestling altogether if you're going to do that.
100% right. The pattern of it all, I think, is what keeps people coming back. For me, Wednesday night is inextricable from watching Dynamite. I get home from work, I make a quick snack, I grab a drink, and I sit down, and I start my note taking, and it's time to light the fuse. And I'm nowhere near being totally out on AEW, and it's never a good time to have a bad pay-per-view, obviously, sort of goes without saying, but I do feel like more than usual it would be a bad time to underdeliver. This would be a good pay-per-view to have this signee be somebody people are interested in, and we'll get to it more here, but I really, if I was AEW, I would be looking at paying off the devil on this pay-per-view. Now, I don't think they're going to, and I want to ask you about this, Slak, if you think they're going to do it. I just think they are going to try and stretch this to World's End, because AEW likes to stretch things out. And I think that you need to reward the viewer. If you want to stretch it to Wednesday, if you want the devil to do something and then say Wednesday into a mic or something leading to the television, okay, no problem. But I don't think you have 6 weeks where people are still as interested. Do you think there's a way, Slak, first of all, do you think they are going to show us who the devil is on Saturday night? And if not, do you think there is a way that it can still ramp up an interest from there?
I tend to lean that they're not going to. And no, I don't. I will say that in the middle of this build, like when the devil was first introduced, in the middle of that, it got like, we're just like, what the hell is this? Like, who cares? Who even cares who the devil is at this point? Because it's not affecting the show. Jay White's fine. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why should I give a shit who the devil is at this point?
They did a terrible job of making the devil feel like he had major impact.
Yeah.
Like you say, Jay White and his goons are back on TV 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of it. So yeah, I agree. Bad job there.
Right. It's like a mystery for the sake of just a mystery isn't intriguing in any way. But then the last couple of weeks, they've kind of ramped it up a little bit. The attack on the Acclaimed. Now there's, they're actually talking about it a little bit and making it matter somewhat. I still think the devil should have been way more disruptive to matter more. So that's part of my issue. So revealing the devil right now, like I can't think of who it could be that's healthy and what they could say to make me think it made sense to be the devil in the first place. So to do it Saturday would be like almost like hey, in the middle of the story, I'm just going to let you know I'm the devil and I got more work to do. So, let's go do that now. Like, I just don't. So I guess a longer way of saying, I don't think they're going to reveal it on Saturday. I think this stretches out. I hope they make it more interesting than it's been. And I just don't know what the payoff other than it being Adam Cole could be. And he's out for a while. So I'm just not sure what's going on at all.
Aaron, let's take it from there because I actually think that Slak hit on sort of the most interesting devil discussion you can have. Obviously, somewhere in here, we'll talk about who we all think it is and this sort of thing. But almost more importantly, can the devil pay off in a way that is super interesting at this point? Because I actually agree with Slak that either Cole or who I think it is, Britt Baker, are sort of the most linear, would make sense thing. And that's the Tony Khan way, or at least was the linear, what makes sense, it'll fulfill it. But I don't know if after the deal that's been made, that ultimately is the seismic meteor hitting the AEW world. Do you think they have a bullet in their gun that can deliver the goods of what they've built the devil up to be?
I think that it's going to be really hard for them to have that moment of the reveal be knock it out of the park, take your breath away kind of thing. I think that ship has sailed. Yeah. But I think that they can deliver on the angle. They can deliver on the storyline by, I think, Slak hit the nail on the head with the motivation, right? Like that's the important thing. And it's why I really hope they don't pay it off, because you need to, like, right now, sort of what we've seen has been at odds with each other, right? Attacking MJF's opposition and then attacking his friends. That doesn't make sense right now. And I want to see like a little more intrigue built right now, because if it's Adam Cole on Saturday, I mean, that makes sense from a storyline perspective, I guess.
Yeah, if he's confused, he's hurting his friend, and then he sees that he needs help, he's helping his friend.
Exactly. And so I hope they don't pay it off, but I also hope there's a major escalation in the storyline. I want it to get more interesting, because I think it could be really cool, even if it isn't somebody surprising, even if it is Adam Cole or Britt Baker, whoever, but it's all about what happens from here between now and the reveal. And I hope they don't stretch the reveal out to World's End, because that's way too long. I think that's something you can do on a Dynamite and pop a rating for it or whatever it is.
Yeah, I just to add to that too, I think you almost are at a point where you can't fumble this, and almost going with the chalk answer of Adam Cole or Adam Cole's group is just like, you have to, because it has to make sense. And you can't just pull some random person out and have it be them. The only stupid idea that I thought of that I might be into, which again, this is a whole different thread we could pull on.
No, I'm ready.
Is that Danhausen is the devil. He's fucking shit up on behalf of Wardlow, who he manages almost like a Paul Bearer style way. And that's his new act, is Danhausen and Wardlow, which could rescue Wardlow from being super boring and also make Danhausen a heel without sacrificing some of the funny shit that he does. And obviously he's doing it to get back at MJF, who screwed Wardlow's entire life up. That's my like wild card devil theory.
Okay, so I don't think that's going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
However, I would actually be incredibly into it. I think that if they don't do, and I think everybody watching this probably knows my tastes. I don't lean towards generally liking some of the sillier characters in wrestling. In fact, it's sort of, I'm impressed at how interested I am. I'm impressed by AEW, not me, but how interested I am in the devil storyline. Because everybody watches this does. I like old Japanese wrestling. It's kind of just, I like other stuff too, but generally speaking, what I turn on when I'm eating or whatever is old Japanese wrestling. But I love this sort of pulpy, who done it mystery ongoing week to week thing of some Western wrestling television. And I actually think that the ceiling that Danhausen could hit for them as a star hasn't even been grazed. They haven't even danced with it at all. Whatever my opinion of him doesn't matter at all. He is what like the third biggest merch mover in the company, not being on television. He's very online relevant. He has a fan base that are a fan of Danhausen, even if they're not a fan of wrestling. Stuff like that is gigantic, and he has a clear defined act. And if his very good is silly and his very evil is the devil with Wardlow, that's just a lot of fun and sick. Again, I don't think it's happening, but I like that. This is what's fun about this sort of stuff. You get to imagine and book it your way. Like that's what I like to do. I'm a dreamer, babe.
Yeah, I think that Danhausen coming back as a monster heel manager, like a Machiavellian shithead, would be a really shocking reveal. Where it's like, oh, this comedy act is now a top heel that you have to take seriously as a threat.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And you get the sense, and tell me if you agree, Aaron. I get the sense Danhausen could actually sprint with that. One of these guys where it's like, oh, you've seen him in one role, but he's so creative. You got to think that he could, stretch that way out, eh?
Yeah, I mean, and he's worked as a heel on the indies, I think, a fair amount, and is apparently a totally different animal as a character, and apparently really good at it as well. So I haven't seen much other than a few clips, but people have spoken highly about it. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a horror movie nerd. Like he's seen every horror movie probably dozens of times. So he knows how to be a TV bad guy. Like for sure, he knows how.
Yeah,
you might have talked me into the door. Now if it's CM Punk, it would be like, where's Danhausen? We got a problem on our hands. Let's go on the record. Forevermore. I'll go to you first, Slak. Okay. Who is the devil? This is your best guess as we sit here Thursday, November 16th. I think we're probably at least weeks and weeks away from it being revealed. Who's your best guess?
I would guess Adam Cole. If you told me like this, you have to put $10 on it. Something innocuous, but like there's stakes.
What about 15?
I would say Adam Cole. $15. Yeah, whatever it is.
What about you, Aaron? Do you think one AC to another, it's Adam Cole?
Yeah, I think it is, but I hope it is, because all of the other obvious answers, aside from maybe Britt Baker, I could see that being cool as well, are really underwhelming. If it's Jack Perry, I'm out on it completely. I don't think it is. I really don't think it is, but it's not implausible. Like whatever your top 5 list is of who it could be, I think most people, myself for sure, would have Jungle Jack on that list of 5. And they've definitely done some rabbit trail stuff with some of the hints, the glass, going through the glass, stuff like that. But I think that they're doing some of that stuff intentionally, right? Like whether or not it's him, I don't think that was an accident.
Yeah, that's them leaving crumbs.
Yeah,
they should let the devil hit a go to sleep and really get the hints and crumbs going.
It's Kenta.
Yeah, can you now? There's he. Cool. Can you imagine? He hits a go to sleep and unmasks and it's Kenta.
He is going to be in Seattle on Saturday, so probably a little too short turnaround. But
hey, no, this is exciting. There's already on the West Coast. There's it's all
closer than Japan.
It really is. There's no denying that the West Coast is closer to LA than Japan. That's just definitive.
True.
Let's get to the card. I want to start off with MJF and TBA versus the Guns for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. First question, and we'll go to you, Aaron. Is Samoa Joe joining MJF in this tag match on Saturday?
I think so. I think that I'm I hope that he is more than I'm confident that he is, but if I have to pick one, I think yes. I like the idea of Samoa Joe having a title shot. I like the idea of him being in a main event program. I love the idea of a Samoa Joe MJF match. I think that would be, I would watch that. They could do the 100 of those and I would watch them. So yeah, I think it makes sense, right? Like he's gonna. I don't think Jay White is winning this match. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think MJF is coming out of here, and I think it's a good way to set up his next program and also move the, Adam Cole thing along. As much as I don't care about that element of it, they're gonna keep doing that, and I think he's gonna have to. He's not gonna beat the Guns by himself.
What about you, Slak? Is Joe gonna be there besides MJF?
Yes.
And does it make sense to have these two single stars in MJF and Samoa Joe? Is there a problem with having them beat the tag team in the Guns?
Yeah, I think there is. But they're both huge stars, so it's not like yeah, and it's not like they're losing to two mid-carders, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
the Guns, I guess you could argue that I would probably argue they are mid-carders in the tag division. They're mid-high card, but they're not FTR, they're not the Bucks. They're not even Lucha Brothers, I don't think.
Probably the lowest ranked former champions in the Fed, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Yeah, they're not the Acclaimed yet either. They're not. They're just not. They're cool though. And
one of my personal favorites though.
Yeah, I'm into the Guns for sure. So, and they're challengers, I guess is the other part, right? They're not title holders dropping the belts to two non.
That is
like
different.
I think we talk about that a lot as being a really annoying thing that they do, like with the literal AEW tag team belts right now. But yeah, I mean, I also like don't understand what the Guns gain by winning the Ring of Honor tag titles. So it just doesn't seem plausible to me at all that they're going to win. And I think MJF and Joe, you can definitely make the case in kayfabe. Like these guys are super powerful apart, so they should win. They're both really good. So
as a tag team, MJF and Joe are also just interesting. Like I'm interested in seeing MJF and Joe tag. It sounds very fun to me. I love the Guns. I think you could sort of twist yourself into a pretzel about it and say, oh, tag team shouldn't be losing to two single stars, but I don't ultimately think it's the end of the world. Like Ring of Honor titles, pre-show, it just sort of is what it is. I think the Guns will have plenty of great days ahead of them. And like you said, it's not John Cena and Randy Orton teaming up to beat 24 guys. It's still 2v2 or what have you. So there's a sense of fairness there.
Or Braun Strowman winning with an 11-year-old child as his partner.
That was stupid.
Incredibly. Plus, you know what? Like we always say, if you're talking about an angle that puts Samoa Joe on TV even more, awesome. Great.
And like Aaron said, I'm totally into. I loved Joe and MJF on television.
Fantastic.
Totally into see what those guys want to do on pay-per-view. I got no problem there. I should almost rewatch that TV match because I don't remember leaving it thinking, oh, they left some stuff on the table. We're going back to this. But I wasn't really in that mind frame at all. But be very excited to see it go down again. But that's not who MJF is facing in the main event of Full Gear. Not Joe yet. No, it is Jay White. And Slak, I want a percentage from you. What percentage chance does Jay White have to pick up the AEW World Heavyweight Championship on Saturday?
The first number that popped in my head is 5%.
Aaron, would you go higher or lower than that?
I think I would go lower. I'd go like 3%.
Yeah. I don't think anybody is buying Jay White as a super likely winner here. Now, that doesn't mean they can't have a corker of a match. I think Slak alluded to it earlier. There's probably going to be lots of juice and gun involvement, maybe some Acclaimed run in. Sometimes you're walking a fine line with those shenanigans late in main events for me. They can be good or bad, depending on sort of the glue holding them together. I agree with you guys that could be something to look out for here. But I got to tell you, from the moment Jay White arrived in AEW, MJF is one of the guys I wanted to see him wrestle. Now, comparing styles is always so tough in wrestling. Everybody is ultimately an individual. But I think if you had to split the roster down the middle into Camp New School and Camp Old School, these guys are both decidedly in Camp Old School. And MJF hasn't had a ton of that recently. Now, I suppose Joe would also be in that to some degree, but even that's a little less clear. Talk to me a little bit about just the matchup, Aaron. If Jay White and MJF, result be damned. Are you interested in the match and how the actual mechanics, the punches and kicks of this thing can go down?
Oh yeah. Jay White is one of my favorite guys to watch. This sounds like a complaint and it's not, but it's almost a shame that this feud is being wasted on a match where there's really not I don't feel like a lot of ambiguity about who's winning. because I buy Jay White as a champion. You know, I buy him beating MJF. I just don't buy it in this storyline with everything else that's going on right now. Unless they're doing something with the devil, I think that's the only way that MJF doesn't win. But even then, I think that's where the 3% comes in. But I think that they're going to have great chemistry. I think that whenever they've been in the ring together during the build to this, it's been really good. They've had some really good promo battles. They've had some not so good ones as well, but you know, but yeah, they look great together. They're both like S tier guys in ring right now. So I'm super excited about the match. I think it's going to be great. I just wish there was a little more drama.
Yeah, it's funny. I totally agree with you about the timing of the matter, because, and I saw Slak nodding along too, Jay White as a top guy is utterly believable. There's no stretch, no growth needed. In fact, if you want to argue that he already feels a little more established as that than MJF, I would hear that out too. Jay White feels important and could easily be the main character of your Fed. And even if the story was different, I just feel like with where All Elite Wrestling is right now, in the meta context, they're not taking the belt off MJF. They are struggling. Their popularity is maybe waning a bit, and MJF is their chip. This is the thing they have that is going and working. And, you know, over on the AEW Dudes that Zoobs and I host every Wednesday, the moment Dynamite ends on twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain, we're grading the show week to week to week to week to week. So some, you know, MJF was good, MJF was bad. I like this about MJF, I didn't like this about MJF. But I think in the grand view, MJF is their best property, the best thing they have on the roster that is in-house AEW, the thing that they can fly their flag with. It's MJF. And I just don't think that they could take the perceived weakening of not even Jay White, just a heel champion right now, just a big dry heel run. I just don't see it at the top of that promotion right now from a timing sense. And people might say, oh, they don't think about it in those terms. It's a little, but no, like that is absolutely something that bookers think about in terms of business. Like, can I have a heel champion right now? Gary Hart's book talks about this. There's plenty of thought going in. Is okay, when business is up, you can run with a hot heel, maybe a shorter run, and back on a baby face. And I think that at least it crosses my mind on top of all the other reasons that I'll also be picking MJF to pick up 2 wins. I think all 3 of us unanimous here. None of us have him dropping the ROH tag titles, and we both all 3 have him hoisting the Triple B above his head once more.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'll say real quick too about MJF is we haven't talked about this in quite some time, but him not having the belt going into the War of 2024 or whatever they're calling it would be ridiculous.
It does seem like after all this buildup. Now, it's like so many things in wrestling. First of all, I agree with you. Secondly, it's like, well, you could do something with that too. If he has to enter the war, now he's entering a spiral to get his belt back before negotiations. There's this window here, but I agree with you. It just seems the most likely that MJF is going to retain and probably retain again at World's End. But listen, if AEW wants to do a Samoa Joe world title run, my hands up. I'm saying go for it. Yeah, I approve. Let's move on. It's Hikaru Shida defending the AEW World Women's Championship against timeless Toni Storm. Before we get into the matchup and prediction, gentlemen, I'll go to you here, Slak. What have you thought of timeless Toni as the character has moved on over the course of, how long has she been post-breaking, staunchly timeless Toni? 6 weeks, something like that?
Maybe it feels like more, but maybe not.
It could well be.
Who the hell knows, right? Time is just bullshit at this point. It's not
just
real.
Invented clocks, you know.
Right. I'm just like, do I work today or do I not? Anyway, it's I don't know. I like it better than the Outcast thing for sure. I thought it was really funny at first. I don't think it's not funny. I do want her to wrestle. She's really good at it. And she hasn't really wrestled she wrestles in character when she's timeless Toni Storm. Like, she does certain things that she's added with the character. Like acting aloof or like doing faces and stuff. And it's fine. It's funny, but it's, again, like you, like I've skewed, like I want to see 2 combatants who just want to fight and beat each other up, you know, and someone's going to win. So I struggle with this match. I think it should be good. I think Tony's going to win. I just don't.
Is that the right call?
Yeah, I suppose it is, if they want to kick in this Mariah May, like understudy thing they're doing into high gear. She could carry the belt around. She could do all kinds of stuff and create jealousy, and then you've got yourself into something like, you know, ready-made from that. I think that's probably what they're going to do. So to me, this is probably the way to go.
Aaron, what have you thought about Timeless Tony, her presentation, and do you agree with Slak that she is going to be picking up the win on Saturday?
I don't think I have any disagreement with that. I think she's an incredible performer doing something that I think she really enjoys doing, and she's having a lot of fun with it, and it's a lot of fun to watch. I think that especially the way that it impacted matches has kind of run its course a little bit, because it's the same gags every time. And I think this is my issue with a lot of stuff in AEW. They take it just one step too far.
The returns never diminish in AEW.
Yeah, like some of the silent movie interstitials are pretty rough, and that's kind of soured me a little. But I do think she's going to win, and I think her winning is a good time to sort of, I don't think you need to do away with the character, but I think you can sort of reset it a little bit where she can still have the old movie star look, presentation, but maybe she's not completely out of her mind anymore, and maybe she wrestles more straightforward. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I do feel bad for Hikaru Shida because I think she's great, but it just feels like she's the forever transitional champion who is sort of, even when she is the champion, the background to everything going on to build her next contender.
It really doesn't feel like they've gotten it right with Shida, does it?
No.
I don't know if this most recent title run is a stronger example of that or the one before, but something about the lack of attention paid to how to book Hikaru Shida bothers me. It's like a thorn in my rib, because when I think about what I want the AEW women's division to be in my ideal, and I know that's not who they're booking for, but I'm me and it's my opinions, Hikaru Shida and Athena are probably your two best representatives of what my ideal version of that division would be. If you had to run match for 3 months, probably be Hikaru Shida versus Athena. Now, I haven't seen that Hikaru Shida in the past little while. I don't know if that's her opponents, that she only gets to wrestle 8-minute matches. Maybe she's, out of her prime, not feeling it, all these things that go, but I haven't been given enough to even know. Like on this title run, it almost feels like with Toni Storm on Saturday is the first big showcase moment for her since she's been champion. Like you say, she feels like the background to Timeless Tony to me right now.
Yeah.
That said, I am going to pick her to defend the title on Saturday.
Oh.
I do think she's going to defend the title because I think Timeless Tony has something built in with Mariah May. Now, maybe they want that as their title scene, but I'm hoping this can be a expanding of the division, actually bringing another star along. These people feud. Maybe they both want the title. I just think I actually agree with Aaron that her stopping losing her mind would be good, but I could just totally imagine the creative meeting of Tony fails because does Tony need to be champ again? And does Hikaru Shida need to lose it again? The whole thing feels just so ping-ponged. I get why you do. If your end result is Timeless Tony is the hottest thing we have and we're going to put the belt on her, I understand how you get there, but it just feels so half-assed in some ways. Not Tony's build, but Shida's reign. Like, it feels like the thing is getting started at best. The car is still sputtering to life, and we might be looking at it ending already. And it just doesn't feel right to me. At least one big defense on pay-per-view and I feel like Tony in a loss can do a ton too. So I am going to pick Hikaru Shida to defend. Although I realize I'm picking 3 people to defend their titles in MJF twice and Shida. And that's probably not going to happen. So maybe I should switch now. And to Tony's character, I'm just going to choose to praise it because I like how high effort it is. It's something someone's thinking about it. They're getting a separate camera crew, going to different locations. It's a universe that's growing. And that's the sort of stuff I want to encourage in pro wrestling. Like, it doesn't always hit for me, but I'm never groaning at it anywhere near as much as I am with Roderick Strong in the wheelchair or anything. It's like, I don't think it has unlimited bandwidth, but going from the silent films to now it's in the real world and Mariah May's entering it. She goes from color to black and white as she enters the locker room. Like there's still road to run, and it seems like it's changing instead of just going all the time. And so I'm just all wrong here. We're gonna say Toni Storm good, but losing, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to the match though. This has to be the one, right? This has to be the Shida performance of the last little while. You guys agree?
I sure hope so.
I think it will. Tony's a really high quality opponent. I don't think they're going to stumble and fumble around like we saw at the end of last night's match with Sky Blue and Red Velvet.
What a match. I'll never
really
forget that match.
The way you put it on the show is so funny.
I got more texts about my description of that match on the show today than I get from things I say on Double Dudes almost ever. So
it was really good.
That's very funny. I'm excited for the match. Hope Shida Again, I'm just booking in my brain. It's like, I hope Shida has a 20-minute classic and she defends, but that isn't really AEW booking anymore.
I hope you're right, for the record. I think Tony wins, but I hope you're right, because I think there is a lot they can do with her without having the belt. She doesn't need the belt to be entertaining and to be a big part of the show.
She's maybe the most complete person in the division. Yeah.
And I think that Shida deserves an actual run with the belt where she's not doing trick or treat matches with Abaddon. And, you know, I think that they need to book her much better. And I think a win over Tony is a great example of how to do that.
I cannot wait for this next one, gentlemen. I think the hottest feud going into Saturday is this next one. It's Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland in Texas Death. Now, the bar for Texas death matches in AEW extraordinarily high, down to even John Moxley versus Lance Archer. I think the Texas death matches often whip ass. That was for the IWGP US title. I think people probably remember an awesome TV match between those two.
Oh yeah.
Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. Talk to me, Aaron, about Swerve Strickland in a Texas death match. And I don't know if were you a Lucha Underground guy at all?
A little bit, not as much as I should have been.
Slack, were you? I forget.
I've seen some, and I definitely have seen enough of Swerve's work there to know where you're going with this. Yeah.
I'll go right on back to Aaron and say the kill shot era of Swerve Strickland, where he can go hardcore death matches of side of the guy that I really can get into, and is sort of on polarity opposite of how he's being presented right now, sort of this mogul end boss on television. I don't know if I necessarily think he's a guy who's going out there to bleed. Seeing him back in this arena against Hangman Page, is well proven in this zone. What does that do for your excitement? And is this your most anticipated match on the card as it is mine?
Yeah, I think so. I Swerve Hangman was my match in the night at Wrestle Dream. I know that there is a feeling that they don't need to be doing this again, and that it's probably just going to be Hangman getting his win back. But this is a feud that I am okay with going on for a long time. Like, there is a lot of heat in this feud. Like, Hangman is invested in a way that I feel like he hasn't been in a long time. Like, he's actually, putting his ass into this feud. And I think Swerve's doing great work. I have seen Swerve do some more hardcore stuff. I've seen some of the stuff in Lucha Underground. He's also, some of his matches with Nick Wayne and Defy were right on that edge of not really officially a hardcore match, but trending that way.
You've seen Swerve Strickland up close a lot. I'm just realizing this.
Yeah. We're fellow Tacoman, it's but
very similar guys.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. But I think I've spent more time in Tacoma than Swerve, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm super excited for this. They can keep this going for at least one more. I think Hangman probably wins this match, because I think he isn't going to get his win back, but I think he's getting it so it sets up the rubber match, which I think is going to be just as good. I'm going to be just as excited about that one. And Hangman in these matches is great. I'm not as much of a death match guy as I think the two of you
I think
are.
I'm the only one on this call who's a psycho for it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge death match guy.
But the death matches that they have in AEW, that's like my comfort level with death matches. I'm not don't do that, that's disgusting, squeamish, scold about it, but it's just not so much my stuff. But like the one he had with Mox was great. I had a blast with that one. And I think just this one, the feud here feels so much more real and hateful than even that one did, that I think this is a great way to take it to the next level. I'm super stoked for it. I think it's going to be great.
Slack, I'll go to you in a second here, but I just want to respond to what Aaron was saying about the result of this match, which is, I did complain on the show this week that if I don't want Hangman just getting his win back. However, if it is leading to the trilogy, I'm all into this. I have no problem with these guys continuing to interact. If Hangman needs to get one over, win it back for his kid, and they head straight into a trilogy match, I'm all good. My misunderstanding comes when people keep saying, well, Hangman wins, and then you just put Swerve Strickland into the Continental Classic, and then he wins that, and he's in the title picture, and then everybody's good. It's like, then why are you beating him? That's where I can't get into it, where it's like, well, then why, if he is going into this tournament to beat everybody, he has to be able to beat Hangman Page not has to, it's wrestling, but Swerve Strickland is the sort of guy, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm getting behind. The crowd is with him. He's in a hot view. This is a guy who at the top of the card could draw money for. You're starved for these people. You can't keep the belt on MJF for the next 40 years. You have to have these homegrown talents. And I don't know if anybody jumps off the page this side of Eddie Kingston more than Swerve Strickland, who could be a crossover adjacent star for them. And so I think that sometimes you have to be bold with booking. Sometimes you don't think Hangman can eat a loss. He's turning heel and going with Don Callis probably anyway. And I like the idea of booking Swerve Strickland as strongly as possible. And so with that, I'll go to you, Slak. Is this your most anticipated match? And give me your winner.
Yeah, it is. And I think Hangman wins and they do the rubber match in the Continental Classic. That's what I'm predicting.
So both guys enter the Continental Classic and the trilogy's in there. See, this is how you get to be a host on the channel. It's a blending of both things that were just said in a way that feels satisfying to both.
Yeah, it's almost like you're not forcing it that way, right? They're both in it because they're both top stars. And it's like, well, whatever, ends up happening is, we have to wrestle again. So it's not just a B1 or whatever we're going to call it, G1, C1 match. It's also got a little extra stakes, right? Like, I think that happens all the time in the G1. You've got, feuds between rivals. You've got tag team partners who have to wrestle each other. You've got
faction mates.
The trap match against the Yano or whatever, if they have somebody like that in this tournament. So just add stakes to it. I think that's really exciting to think that would be a TV match. That could be a big deal, like just a really big deal. But again, it's hard for me to see Hangman losing a Texas Death Match. It's hard for me to see Hangman losing a second match in a row unless they're doing a Hangman like spiral again, which I don't think they're going to.
They love to do stuff again with the Elite, though.
I know they're doing it right now.
Yeah, you heard there's a little trouble amongst them.
I hear the locker room is a concern. Who's in it?
Who's
supposed to be in there? We don't know.
Where's Brandon Cutler? I cannot wait for this match. I can't wait for Texas Death. The only thing I'd say about the tournament meeting, Slak, and again, if they do that, I'm into it, is it's hard to escalate after Texas Death, like any giant blow-off match. Now, again, this is linear thinking that does not exist in AEW. Blood and Guts is a kickoff match to a feud in AEW. Please, Slak.
Yeah, I guess there's only one way to do that, and it would be if it was the final, and the final was a guaranteed title shot.
There we go. I don't mind anything you're saying.
That could be good. Could be good.
Yeah.
Hope this is just an aggressive car crash. I cannot have Hangman come out and slap a headlock on this guy. He needs to go out there to kill him. Swerve needs to fight right on back. If we get an enormous Prince Nana bump, like a dead eye through a table, I'll come pretty unglued for that.
Yes.
I had a visual the other night of the crowd doing the Nana dance after Nana takes like an enormous bump. I just couldn't get it out of my head. Like he is dead-eyed through a table, twitching on the ground. The crowd's just, what up? Just would be a tremendous moment. Cannot wait for this one. Anything else you guys want to say as it relates to Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland, just the quality of this feud?
I think that this is a great example of why Hangman needs to be on the show. And I think it's been a great example of why Swerve needs to be at the top of the card. I think that if you're building, like in my ideal world, they're building Swerve to be the guy to take the belt off of MJF because he needs it. I mean, he deserves it.
Agreed.
He needs to be in that spot. And I think Hangman is he's really good at elevating guys. And like, there are a lot of people that Swerve has feuded with that are not at his level. And Swerve brings them up because he's that good. Hangman is, I like Swerve better, but I mean, Hangman is Hangman.
They're on the same rough level, great. I'd say.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so, and having them, go head to head has been a blast. I just need Swerve to have a definitive end to a feud. That's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for. So if it is Hangman gets his win back and that's it, that's going to feel really dissatisfying.
Yeah. Imagine they're just paying off all these Swerve matches in the Continental Classic. It's like round 1 is Keith Lee, round 2 is Hangman Page. He better get his hands on AR Fox again.
And I'll say this too. One more thing about Swerve is that the whole thing of the promise of Swerve is like, we know he's really good at wrestling. We know his matches are awesome, but he and Hangman have built something very personal over this second build that feels personal. It feels real. And that's a credit to both of them, not just Hangman. And I think that's what people wanted to see from Swerve was could he carry the selling of a big feud? Now he's done that, and now he gets to do what he's good at. Let's go in the ring and make someone bleed and bleed himself and do some crazy ass shit, which it's going to be fantastic. I hope there's a cinder block spot also.
Oh, that feels totally on the table.
Yeah.
Guys, I wish I was more excited about this next match, and I'm hoping that talking to you two geniuses will get me there. It's Orange Cassidy defending his title against Jon Moxley. Now, we would have never ended up here if I had the pencil. Believe you me, I can adjust. I could book on the fly, as I prove every Monday on WBCW Meltdown. Somebody retires. Hey, no problem. This guy that. No, we have to do Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley because 3 months ago that was the plan, and Mox got hurt. Guys, am I being too sour on this? I'll go to you, Slak. Should I be coming unglued? These are two really great wrestlers. Jon Moxley, among my favorite, forget about wrestlers, people walking planet Earth. Why should I be more sized for this one?
I think they could have done a better job, but I am actually pretty psyched for it. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm excited because I want to see what they've come up with, because Orange Cassidy has to have learned how to survive the beating that he's going to get. And he has to do it. He has to win differently because they did the whole thing about the orange punch not working last night, which I thought was really cool. I don't think I've ever seen that. Where they're like, yeah, your finisher's not going to work. It doesn't work on me anymore. Sorry. Like, that's cool. I love that. And I think Mox is the perfect guy to be that guy and just say, like, I don't care what you think. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you again. And this is the end of it. You come back, you take my title when I'm hurt. That's not going to sit well. And he's pissed. And I believe it. Like, I believe that Mox is pissed at Orange Cassidy for taking the title while he had a concussion. So not only do I kind of believe the story that they're telling, I also believe that the match is going to be better than anyone thinks it's going to be. Even people who think it's going to be good. It'll be better than that.
What about you, Aaron? Are you as psyched as the Slak man? Because like I say, he's talking me into the building on this one, getting me excited.
I'm close. I think I totally agree that this has the potential to be like a match that people are maybe excited about, but at the end of the night, they're like, that whipped, and way more than I thought it would. I think these two have really good chemistry. I think they're both really good in-ring storytellers, which is a crazy thing to say about Orange Cassidy, but he has a lot more in him than you would think. So yeah, I'm super excited, but the caveat I have is that I think that Orange Cassidy has to win this match, or else it's a really unsatisfying story. I think that if Moxley just goes in and steamrolls him and ultimately beats him, I don't think it's not worth going back to that and doing this over again if that's the outcome. I think that's a perfectly fine outcome without the detour that they had to take to get here, but going back to the well and building up that story so much, I think Orange Cassidy has to win. And then I think he needs to drop the belt the next time out because it took everything out of him. That's what I want to see.
I love that follow-up idea. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I hate being that prescriptive because I don't want to set myself up to be disappointed, but that just feels like the most obvious thing. It's like keeping the belt is important, but the most important thing is being able to overcome the guy that you couldn't overcome, even if it kills you, even if it takes everything from you. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I think the match is going to whip. If Moxley ends up winning it, I'm going to feel deflated in a way that I don't like it when they set matches up that way, where it's like, even if the match is great, if the wrong guy wins, you're going to be annoyed and not in like a invested in the storyline kind of way, but in this feels like a dumb decision kind of way.
Yeah, I feel a lot of fog around the international title scene right now, whereas it felt so elevated and so focused during everybody knew the story around the international title. Orange Cassidy is holding it forever, and finger by finger, limb by limb, rib by rib, he is falling apart, giving his all, his literal blood, sweat, and tears and teeth all over this belt. And it's like so awkward that they just stiltedly put it back onto him. He's no longer exhausted. And he's facing the monster that I think they have they're speed running this story that they were going to tell. I don't even know that it makes all that much sense. I think you've presented the most interesting version of it, which is he's given everything. Jon Moxley takes him down to 1% and then he drops it. But it also isn't in keeping with what's happening now, which is the problem with it. Like, I agree. I think both of these guys should be out of the international title picture. I think they're both upper card guys and the belt was elevated, and now it's time for the Daniel Garcias of the world. I'll throw out a name in Roosh, somebody that I was really gonna say
they should have Roosh kick his fucking ass the day or the next show after the pay-per-view. It's the easiest story. Because that's the guy who kicks your ass.
That's exactly right. Oh, wait. Okay, we need it. Okay, so Jon Moxley almost killed him. Who finished? Oh, but Roosh. That's easy.
Yeah.
And that's just a guy that I'm very interested in seeing a lot more of than I have. And being a weekly TV champ is a good way of making that happen.
Yep.
Regardless of the booking and sort of how we got here, obviously I think these two match up in an interesting way. Orange Cassidy is so good at being extremely light. Mox does a whole different move set with light guys. I think that's when he opens up with the Mox violences and the exploders to the corner. And he doesn't do it with bigger guys. And it's what I like so much about the Empty Arena Mox title reign, is that it's just all giants. And it's just, he's obviously in love with Japan and MMA at that period of time. Just like low leg kicking everybody. Then he gets in there with a Ray Phoenix and just looks entirely different. And I think Orange Cassidy opens up that side of Mox, which I really like. I guess I just don't know what BCC is doing. I don't know what this title scene's doing. And this is sort of Full Gear in general. I'm looking forward to the reset or the new world.
Yeah, Claudio has nothing to do, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right. I mean, Brian's in the CC coming up, but
right.
yeah,
I think Claudio's off the card right now, and I think Hook and Yuta are probably going to get a pre-show match if I had to put money on something.
Well, I actually said this the other day on the show, but again, I'll repeat it here. Is Claudio a Ring of Honor talent or an AEW talent?
I mean, he's
like, which pay-per-view is he more likely to be on? An AEW one or a Ring of Honor one? I don't know. Like, are they saving him for Final Battle?
I don't know, to go back against Eddie?
No, I think it's Eddie J. Lethal, if you can believe it. Yeah. Here's your Christmas present, Slack. December 10th, we got you Eddie Kingston in a title match. Oh, eyes as wide as saucers. And it's against Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
Remember the woo-off with Ric Flair? Remember that? They're definitely running that back, by the way. Yeah, Jay Lethal.
Rick will be there, I heard.
Yeah.
I think we're all picking Orange Cassidy to successfully defend.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But no one would be bad with a Mox run with this title, which also was cut short, right? Like, I do think there's still legs with Mox and this title scene if they wanted to go that way.
I think that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I was just gonna say that I think that I would be mad about this story ending that way, but I do think that he could get that belt back up to where it was during OC's run, and so I wouldn't hate that, but I would hate it coming in that manner. I think.
I know he can. I don't want him to. I don't want to see that right now.
Yeah. What do you want for Jon Moxley, Slack?
I should get back in the world title scene.
Yeah.
It's been way longer than people think.
Oh, yeah. The problem is it's still MJF.
Yeah. Why aren't they interacting more? That'd be awesome.
I didn't like their last feud and match.
Well,
I feel like they have bad
point.
Chemistry.
Maybe, but like.
But I agree. It's been a year.
Shouldn't Mox be pissed off at MJF still? Like, they haven't really resolved that. I mean, he got screwed by Regal.
Even if he's not right now, Mox could become pissed off in a moment's notice. I've seen him do it.
That's right. Let's do it. Piss him off.
Get this guy pissed off. Can we just, I don't even care what makes sense. Can we just get him and Eddie Kingston facing off again? I don't care whose title, what show. Yeah. I'll watch OXT if that's where it goes down. That's NXT now that they're using the stars of yesteryear.
That's right.
Sting, Edge, or Adam Copeland. Adam Copeland, Christian, 3 guys. Sting, Adam Copeland, and Christian Cage, 3 guys on one team, the good guys, versus Christian Cage, Nick Wayne, and Luchasaurus in 6-man action. I should note that it says on the AEW website that the babyface team here will be escorted by Ric Flair. There's a with Ric Flair in the manager role.
Oh, thank God.
6-man action. I'm actually pretty excited for this, Aaron. Don't talk about the dynamics quite yet, but how about as a match? Do you like this as a 6-man match?
I think it'll be fine. I think that I hate or dislike Copeland less than most AEW fans, or at least the ones. I don't love him, but he doesn't bother me. Like, his presence isn't like an active detractor as long as he's doing stuff like this, right? And I think this is good use of him. I think that if they were gonna do him and Christian, this has been a decent way to do it, involving a younger guy like Nick Wayne, kind of bringing the Darby Sting element into it. So you're sort of like concentrating nostalgia acts in one place. I don't hate that, even though I love Sting. I think Sting is definitely a net benefit. I think this will be fine. I'm not excited for it. I'm probably not gonna leave while it's on. Like, it's probably not gonna be a bathroom break match for me. But I'll probably be on my phone for half of it. It's in that range, you know.
I love being on my phone. Oh man, reminding me of one of my favorite things to do. Watching something and looking at my phone. Golly,
Hey,
Slack.
when that screen's on, oh man,
come on, don't get me started.
Nothing like it.
We only got 2 hours. Slack, who's the matchup you're dying to see here? Is there 2 guys in the ring? Maybe Copeland Christian is the on the money one, but is there any pairing that gets you out of bed here?
No, not really. I do think it'll be a fun match. I'm excited for it. I'm also not a Copeland hater. I also was not watching WWE when he was a singles star, whatever you want to call that. I had no idea what that was like. I remember finding out like Edge from Edge and Christian was called the rated R superstar. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, the show is rated PG. What are we doing?
Well, we're in the rated R era now in AEW. Though. You remember the big announcement?
The new era. Yeah.
The new era. It was rated R.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, I think it'll be fun. I think Sting and Darby match is such a high floor. It's really tough to have a bad match. Christian's there. Christian's awesome. Nick Wayne probably will try to kill himself or get killed, which is great. He's really good at that. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to happen. I think it's going to be really fun. Do we want to talk about the result or?
Yeah, go right ahead. Talk about the result and if you think there's going to be any sort of angle in the match.
I predict, and I'm not saying I guarantee, but I predict that Copeland joins up with Christian at some point. Although I guess we want to keep an eye on how much they beat on each other during the match leading up to that. I don't know how often in swerves do you have them actually wrestling each other and then turns out he's joining with him, or is it like a persuasion angle after the match to be like, hey, you're wasting your time with these two, idiots. The guy's retiring, the other guy's whatever. Like, come on, like, give me a hug.
I'll float that Copeland could maybe, if he was looking for a way to answer your question there, think that Sting's getting all the attention in the match. Maybe Sting tags himself into something, does a big spot, and Edge gets frustrated, wants to be the guy. This is my return. I could see that being the onus for it. Like, he has been physical with Christian, but then he gets frustrated with Sting and he gets a ton of heat because we're all also drinking in the Sting retirement run, right? This is one of Sting's last 5-6 matches. Copeland turning and attacking Sting in particular is probably the most heat he could get in terms of pairing with Christian. And so it becomes, how do you get Sting and Copeland to be pissed off? And I think it could be Sting also trying to drink in it being his retirement, making a big deal, waves to the crowd, hey, it's about me, and Copeland spears him, and that's what leads to it.
Ooh,
yeah, I can see that.
That's good.
And I'd like that. Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun way to do it. It's a lot better than, oh yeah, me and Christian were
way better.
That sucks. Like, that's boring.
That would stink.
I can also see Sting or Darby doing something nuts to Christian and that being too much for Copeland. I could see that.
Sure, that's a good shout too, actually.
Those are both satisfying ways for the turn to happen. I just think it was me, Austin plot.
Yeah.
It's just been overdone.
You could also see Christian do like the whole like being super persuasive thing that he's been good at with like Nick Wayne and those guys. But yeah,
Christian
I think
could sell me anything.
That's right. I love all those ideas way more than just like he turns for whatever reason. So now I'm even more excited for the match. So thank you both.
As a match, though, I largely agree with you guys. Besides liking watching Christian and Sting wrestle, there's not a ton for me to chew on here. I always like Luchasaurus's strikes and think in some ways he's underrated, although he's not great, but I do think AEW is so blessed to have countless great super heavyweights and heavyweights in a way that not a lot of federations have or do. And I count Luchasaurus amongst them. Not great, but certainly amongst the big men of AEW that I would count as capable. If they had a 265-pound plus tournament, I would hope Luchasaurus was in it. Luchasaurus. And at WBCW, he's great. Leader of Extinction.
That's right.
The TBS title is on the line here next. It's Chris Statlander defending in a triple threat against Julia Hart and Sky Blue. I have a feeling which way the wind is blowing the interest is for you guys, but I'll go to you here first, Slack. Who is winning this match, and what would you say has been the way you define Chris Statlander's title run so far?
It's been okay. I don't think it's been bad. I think it's like everything else in the women's division, just underserved by the booking. There's just I think, look, the thing is, they're definitely trying to do something with what they've been running on TV with Chris and Willow and Julia and Sky. And Julia went on her honeymoon for like a month, which again, like, I don't think Julia makes that much money. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No, I'm sure not that much.
A month is a long time. Like, I had 2 weeks. I don't know. I thought that was a long time. I have to get back to work. I don't know. Whatever.
Which sucks.
Yeah, it's the worst. But like, they've been trying to tell a story, and they haven't made it very clear as to what story they're trying to tell, why certain people are affected by the mist more, or then they just decide, no, it's not the mist. I just don't like you for some reason anymore, but I am going to paint my eyes weird and wear Scooby-Doo outfits that just don't make sense at all. But I'm not evil. I just kind of a little bit of I'm a little colder than I used to be. I don't get it. And then they had a chance to pay it off, and then they didn't. They did the reverse. Sky spit in Julia's face and missed completely. Not the point. I think the big story for me that I'm just ignoring all this other crap. Julia Hart has become one of the best workers in the entire company, out of nowhere. I don't know what the hell happened. She's looked incredible against anyone. Probably the last 5-6 matches she's had. She has the best entrance in the company. She's got the best presentation of almost anyone. She's cool as shit. I don't know how they turned her into this. That's amazing. I'm guessing Brody King had a lot to do with it. Guy's probably, he's a genius. But I think she needs to win, and I think she'll pin Sky Blue so that Chris doesn't take the loss and become TBS champion.
Julia is their leader. How does that sound to you, Aaron?
Sounds good to me. I am afraid that Sky Blue is gonna win.
Oh.
And I'm afraid that she's going to do it after misting Statlander.
Oh, interesting.
And I wouldn't hate that as like a turn or just a narrative device if Sky Blue hadn't gone from being pretty decent to garbage over the last few months. I don't know. Slak mentioned the character work. She's exactly the same in every way, except she's just not smiling. She does the wink when she comes in. She climbs the ropes and does the head tilt. She just doesn't smile and doesn't stick her tongue out. But everything else is exactly the same. It's for 2 weeks or so, they could have gone with that and it would have been fine. I was on board a little bit. And then she came out in the Scooby-Doo gear, and it's just like, what are we doing here? Yeah. It's the weirdest thing, and it's not weird in a I really want to see where this is going way. It's weird in a you don't understand the wrestling way. And I hate saying that. I want Sky Blue to be good. I want the homegrowns to be good. She did improve a ton, but it's just her getting this much screen time is bizarre with the way things are going. I hope that I'm just being pessimistic, because I do think putting the belt on Julia is the right call. But I just have this sinking feeling that they're gonna put it on Sky Blue.
Well, I'm clearly the smartest guy on this call, the only one that understands the storyline. The mist makes you love Scooby-Doo. That's what it does. That's its function. You get hit by the spray. You're, where's Shaggy? Where's Velma?
It didn't work on Willow because she already loved it. So it was just
Fair enough.
Bingo.
And Sky Blue had never seen or heard of Scooby-Doo.
Too young.
Too young.
Yeah.
Had never. She said Scooby don't is her familiarity, and then the now she's dressed like the damn Mystery Machine.
Yeah.
So that I feel like that's the story they tell. Look forward to her shooting. I don't know who would be. Maybe Wardlow could benefit from some Fred cosplay on TV. It's the mist. She's in a white polo.
I could see
a scarf on.
Yeah,
ascot. Isn't that what that is?
Yeah, an ascot. That's exactly right. So I got the ascot on. I feel like Chris Statlander is somebody I would get behind in a way. This company sort of has by putting the TBS title on her, giving her the Jade win. But I feel like the follow-up on pinning Jade, does she feel like she got the rub? She was the one to beat Goldberg. Does she feel like she's gotten that to either of you guys? Like, I don't feel that at all. She feels like the mid-card champion. I'm picking her to lose the title here. I'm picking Julia to, I think Slak said, to pin Sky Blue. That's what I think is happening. And that's psychotic. That's Chris Statlander inserted into a way lesser feud, losing her strap. She just beat, you could beat Jade Cargill. You can't beat these two. If you can beat Jade Cargill, you should be able to grab Julia by the ankle, grab Sky Blue by the other ankle, clang them together, throw them out of the arena, and say, "Remember me more than a woman, Chris Statlander." Like, I really feel like for all that goodwill that Jade did a great job of building and feeling like the presence and the unstoppable object. As I look at this matchup, the next pay-per-view is her versus Julia Hart, who I agree with you guys, streaking, fantastic, and Sky Blue, and we're picking her to lose. That's a booking error. You can't beat Jade Cargill and be picked to lose, not the favorite on the next pay-per-view. That's bad booking. That just is, or at least not getting juice out of a big win.
Yeah, I think that's why they're doing the 3-way too, like just to even make it more complicated. Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
Well, I think that there's a way you can pay that off by having, Stat go on this like crazy, almost untouchable run with the belt. And then when you're ready to bump her up to the big title scene, have her drop the belt in a 3-way so that she doesn't directly take the loss and she can move on to do bigger, better things. But I think if she drops the belt, she's moving down the card here. And that's where I think it's problematic.
I couldn't possibly agree more. If I got the sense she was dropping this and was going to be up next for the winner of Sheeta and Storm, I'd say, hey, no problem. But I feel like I'm not giving Julia Hart due credit here, but I just don't feel like Julia Hart for Sky Blue is a world title or even a mid-card title feud, and that Chris Statlander's defense is sort of it's the only feud that's going on here. She's not really feuding with either of them. She stood in between them and sort of broke them up is the involvement here.
And Willow became a subplot in it, which is weird because it's Willow, and then she doesn't know why Sky Blue's acting that like I guess I don't care as much about who wins the match, which I should, as much as I care about them like giving me a reason to even care about what they've been doing on TV for the last month.
Yeah, that's
right.
Give
me something. Make it like, oh, this is what happened. Okay, great. Now I get it. Align somebody to get do something. It's just weird. I don't get it.
And let me talk into this microphone about more than potential and ceilings. Let's find out. Chris Statlander and Julia Hart, there's all the reason. Willow Nightingale, everybody we've mentioned here, I don't think Sky Blue's quite there, but even then, if Sky Blue is the worst person you had involved with like a meaty division, your division's good. And let's find out. I don't even think you've given Chris Statlander the beginnings of finding out. You give her this giant win, and we haven't found out. So I am picking her to lose here, but I would almost hope that I'm wrong about the others women match, and that one changes, and this stays, and we get give Collision to Chris Statlander. Give something. Give something to Chris Statlander.
Yeah.
She's too good.
She's too good. I agree.
She does power moves.
Yeah, she's awesome. She should just be in the men's division, honestly.
Well, it's funny when you said there's so much mixed tag stuff you could do. She has the best friends connection. She is somebody, if Julia Hart came for her, there was this blood feud and Brody King stepped in the ring. Imagine her dumping Brody King on his head somehow. You can have these fun moments.
I want Willow versus Brody King in the barking match. Like, I want that badly. I think it'd be awesome.
Now, can you explain? So the winner gets to continue barking is the idea here?
The winner is us because we get to watch it.
There are no losers. The barking match is just the name. We're barking.
That's it. Right. We're just barking during the match. That's all.
The stiff is all in the audience.
That's right.
I'm ready. Love those two. I was wearing a Brody King shirt on our show Monday, Slak, as always. Last match we're going to cover here is I'll remind everybody we do not have every match announced. It'll be on Rampage and Collision. If you are listening to this, come right back to twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. The moment Full Gear ends, we're doing call-ins, baby. You can be heard. You can call into the AEW dudes. Tell us what you thought about the pay-per-view as we go through it, review it, do what we do. Twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. The moment Full Gear ends. And now, gentlemen, it's a tag match that I'm actually pretty excited about. For the AEW World Tag Team titles. It's the Faction Ingobernable. Here represented by Rush and Dralistico, which this is the same as the Mox Wheeler pairing. It's like you've got the S and the Z guy of your faction. You're giving away the result, but nonetheless. FTR, the Kings of the Black Throne in Malachi and Brody. Gonna be great to see them back. And Big Bill, Ricky Starks. A lot of good people in this match, Aaron. Are you looking forward to I feel like AEW does the cluster tag stuff pretty well. Are you excited for this one as I am?
Oh yeah, these tag matches are always a blast. There's a lot of really talented, fun guys in the tag division that like Big Bill and Ricky is a weird pairing, but it works for me pretty well. I don't love putting the belts on them as a sort of cobbled together act like we were talking about earlier, but I think they've sort of established themselves as a tag team at this stage, and they're a lot of fun to watch. I love Kings of the Black Throne. That's who I'm hoping wins, although I think that's not super likely. LFI. I love everybody in this match. As I talk through it, like these are all my guys big time. And so I think it's going to be, I think Big Bill is my least favorite guy in this match, or Jarlistico. And I really like both of those guys. I think it's going to be a blast. It's impossible to overbook matches like this because they're so chaotic to begin with. So you just kind of say, these guys all kick ass, so this is going to be fun. There's not a lot they can do to screw this up, and I think it's going to be a blast.
Brody King is going to be in this match, Slak. I know he's a genuine favorite of yours. I think of all wrestlers across all wrestling, a favorite of yours. Who of all of the other people in this match do you most want to see Big Brody lock up with?
Roosh.
Yeah, that's a match that's very easy to get by. Now, I'll have you know, a Ring of Honor world title match in 2019.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Not very good, unfortunately. Rouge really in not trying hard mode.
Yeah, from what I heard, Rouge had his rough go back in the ROH days where he was just like clearly did not want to be booked to do anything and didn't give a shit. That's not the guy I've seen on AEW even once, ever. And to be fair, Brody King was probably a little very green in 2019. A lot greener than now, for sure. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been wrestling that long. I saw the documentary about him getting into it, and it just seems like not. Anyway,
let me tell you, cannonballs through the barricade in that match, and it's like, wow, that's the biggest thing in this match by so far. He gives like everything to this. You imagine that guy going through the barricade as a result. Really a cool spot to see. Nothing else in that match.
Yeah, I think this is going to be awesome. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be high paced. It's going to be hard hitting. There's nothing not to like about it. These are always good, and yeah, I could see Ricky and Bill retaining. I think that's my pick. I haven't thought about it till just now. I was kind of coming into this show feeling like, let me freeform this a little bit.
I like that.
I haven't thought about it until now, and I think that's the first thing that comes to mind is they retain. I would love for Kings of the Black Throne to go on a run, but like for me, it's just this long-term red flag that Malachi Black just doesn't do lots of matches, and he doesn't do singles matches anymore. And I don't think that's because he doesn't get booked to. I think he can't. I think he's just hurt beyond
belief. Love to know more about that one day.
I think he can just go like once in a while, and then this is going to put him on the shelf for as long as it takes for him to feel better again. Like, I just think that's what's going on. I'm speculating, Mr. Malachi Black, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I hope you have a good private life. I'm not trying to dig, but that's my takeaway.
You can't be sorry. These guys, they're doing public work. This is, it's an economy. I mean, imagine if Brad Pitt, you were doing a Troy movie review and he's like, oh, this guy, he doesn't like the movie. You know, what are you talking about? People criticize this show all the time. You think I give a shit?
No, they'll answer to me if I hear that. I'm going out.
Golly.
Trouble.
You should see the comments. A lot of people think I'm deeply annoying. It's the way she goes.
Oh, geez.
And I am deeply annoying. So that also goes against me.
Well, that makes two of us. I guess just, I think if he were healthy, he'd be doing cool shit because we've seen him do it. I don't think there's any other reason. So anyway, my point being, Big Bill, Ricky retain. What they're doing with the belts, I don't know. I think it's fair to criticize that pairing as title champ as tag team champs and wonder like why two guys thrown together are running with the belt. Clearly it's because they didn't know what to do after Punk left and they were supposed to do the whole thing. But it's two good guys who are doing it. At least it's not two people who I don't like. So yeah, anyway, fun match. They'll retain in some sneaky way because everyone's beating the shit out of each other. Yep. That's my prediction.
I love Bill and Starks together. I genuinely love them. I like that tag teams when they have dynamics. That's not a 50-50 tag team at all. They let Big Bill do the ass kicking in those matches, and Ricky comes in for relief. It's Takayama and Honda. It's okay, hang on. I'll go in and do a little wrestling, and then I'm going to tag in the roughest dude on earth who's going to belt you around, and then I'm going to spear you and pin you. And I just think it's very cool. I like their dynamic together. I know that the obvious comparison is Shawn and Diesel, but it really does remind me of that good classic act. I am the flashy playboy, slicker than a can of grease. And this is my 7-foot pal. And if he doesn't like you, he's going to beat your ass. And guess what? I'm going to make it so you don't like us. I think it's a really good act. That said, I would take any opportunity to get Roosh on my television more. That said, I think you look at this and it's hard to not arrive at Dralistico's here to take the pin. I think that's probably who's losing in this match. I also am picking Bill and Starks to retain, but I think it's cool that I could also see Kings of the Black Throne or even FTR picking up the win here. I see a lot of people saying there's 0% chance for FTR, which I don't really get. I feel like their run sort of ended out of nowhere against Bill and Ricky on Collision to no one. I love the Zoobs so much, but he was like, who are the tag team champions again the other day? And that was totally because he doesn't watch Collision. It's like, that's totally understandable. If you don't watch Collision, those belts are invisible. They were on FTR, now they're on 2 singles guys. And so I think they need to do maybe if they just want to go back to FTR because they feel like that hasn't been properly established, I suppose I would understand that.
I do wonder if FTR requested maybe a slightly less prominent role to heal up, like because they were wrestling a lot and they were definitely supposed to drop the belts to Aussie Open. I think so too. I don't think that's speculation anymore, and so I just say but I think it's also, Tony doesn't like to pivot, and if FTR not being champs was his plan, then
it could be. Did you give your prediction here, Aaron? Sorry, I've forgotten.
I also think they retain. Yeah, I would love Kings of the Black Throne to win, but I think that Big Bill and Ricky retaining is the most likely outcome.
If you want to be like us and give all of your predictions, you can head to patreon.com/J0SHC. $5 a month gets you so much into the Discord, where both these gentlemen are. I won't say who, but somebody said the Discord to guest pipeline is so real now, which is very funny. And you can also, we're going to be doing a prediction sheet on when this is out, there'll be a prediction sheet up. You can go prove that you were the smartest, go put that there as well. You get all my bonus content. There's a whole new season of Shootopia out, very fun episodes there, top 10 lists, retro reviews, all that stuff. $5 a month, patreon.com/J0SHC. Gentlemen, this has been so fun to do. This is a fun trio, the three of us.
Before we go, did we want to do Kenny and the Bucks thingy? Did we talk about that? I don't know if we did.
Yeah, I was all right. You caught me. All right. The Golden Jets against the Young Bucks are on this card.
I love it.
The Young Bucks, of course, they'll work the Lucha Brothers or their friends or other members of the Elite. We know that, and here they're doing it. It's Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. That's the of all the tag teams you have for Kenny Omega, you got Chris Jericho. Oh, I thought we signed Ibushi. Nevertheless, we've got Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega wrestling for their right to continue wrestling as the Golden Jets against Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, who I thought were, in all fairness, fantastic on Dynamite last night. I really enjoyed their match against Commander and Pentagon. So these four guys are wrestling in the right to, so currently the Young Bucks are number one contenders for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, or at least they have the right to challenge for them, but they're putting that on the line against the Golden Jets. I set it up. Aaron, what do you have to say about this match? And then Slak you after, and then we'll send the kids home.
The only thing that I find at all interesting about this match is that the Young Bucks are doing the same thing with Kenny Omega that the Dark Order did with Hangman 6 months ago or whatever it is. And I find that to be really amusing that the Young Bucks are aping the Dark Order. I hate the Young Bucks a lot in the best of times. They were the thing that kept me from getting into AEW from the start. So I'm extremely biased. I love Omega. I love Jericho. This is the bathroom break match for me, I think. I know. I'm
pissing during this one.
Yeah.
Slak, how about you? Are you coming off the page for this one? You got Matt Jackson and Chris Jericho might link up in this one.
Yeah, how about it? No, I haven't been into many Bucks anything in the last quite some time. I think it's hard to believe there's the same guys who put on the cage match against the Lucha Brothers that I really think was one of the best matches in AEW history, honestly.
It's so good.
So good. And I don't know that those guys are alive anymore. And I don't think they care. I think you've seen some kind of wink nod bullshit to the camera. Like I think on Dynamite even where they're like, some people are saying we're whatever. It's like, oh yeah. I can't imagine the Bucks read the internet comments about them. I'm sure they don't do that.
They don't do that.
Never, right? They don't reply by email to people who say anything about them. But like they've clearly seen everyone saying like you're phoning it in. It's obvious you don't care. As far as to comment on the AEW Instagram post or whatever saying, yeah, this is the only way we're going to get on the card is if we did this match. It's like, you're just like you're ruining everything. It's like, we know this is not real. We know it's wrestling. We know it's fake. We get that. Why are you doing this like fourth wall crap nobody asked for? Either lean into the match as part of a show or just shut the fuck up. I don't understand. It's not cute. Like, I don't know, man. The match will be fine if they decide to continue like a schism that actually puts these people on TV to do the job that they're being paid to do weekly. Because as you saw Wednesday, they're actually good at wrestling when they want to be, and they make matches better. They made Commander, who a lot of people in our Discord really don't like, look really cool. That's awesome. Impressive. Yeah. But they don't fucking show up to work, whether they're hurt or just whatever. I don't know. Or they're back there just wondering who's in whose dressing room and complaining about that. Like, the one thing I'll say is I don't think complaining about people being in their dressing room is fake. That's probably real. They're probably really pissed off because that's all they care about, because they're trying to film their stupid show that I don't even think's been on the air in like months or weeks. I don't watch it.
Don't tell me Being the Elite hasn't been on. Don't tell me that. The world's already bad enough, Slak.
Maybe I'm making this up, but I thought I heard it just hasn't been on.
Yeah, come on. John Hungry's got to have a donut eating contest for the belt. You can't take that from me. Who can eat the most frostings going on next month?
Who can throw the most cards in a hat?
Come on, man. This stuff's a must see. Okay, so the match is going to be good, and the people who will defend this will be like, come on, this is going to be a great match. Look at who's in it. Yeah, to me, a hater. It's just, this is one of the least interesting uses of Kenny Omega I can think of. The Jericho pairing does nothing for me. Just give him a Bushi or Hangman if he has tag partners I'm interested in, or the Young Bucks. But it's like, okay, the Golden Jets are going to break up. What? It's not even a step. Like that's like saying, I don't know. I don't have an analogy here, so I'm not even going to go for one. But it's so low stakes. What investment is there in the Golden Jets?
Like,
why even include it? If people are like, just take not from me Jericho and Omega tagging please take my wife. No, but not the Golden Jets.
Yeah, I don't know.
These were guys who the whole story of a match that they had like a month ago was, we hate each other so much that we can barely stand to be, and now they're like best buds. Just it's so stupid.
Now, Slak, I will say we were in the Discord watching Takeshita versus Jericho the other Saturday from DDT. So it was a really good Jericho showing. So in ring, and right off of a great Buck showing on Wednesday, Kenny very reliable. So in ring, this can definitely hit some high highs, but this card isn't lacking for that. I
just saw Kenny Omega give the one-winged angel to Brian Cage. Like, I'm good. Nothing in this match is going to be as cool as that.
No, right? That's all. I mean, you put both Young Bucks with Brian Cage. I'm good.
I'll say this: if Kenny Omega dismembers both Young Bucks in the ring, I will be very, very happy. That'll be a great match. That'd be awesome.
Will that count as turning heel?
No, that'd be the biggest face move you
possible.
can make.
Yeah. With that, I will thank Andrew C. Slak and Aaron Campo for joining me today on the Wrestling Reign Full Gear 2023 preview show. Aaron, I'll go to you first. Anything online you want anybody to know about who's watching this?
No.
How about you, Slak?
Good. No, everything I do is on Mondays with you, Josh. The good stuff. I mean, I have a podcast, but it's very local. It's not worth mentioning on here. But if you know what, that's not fair. If Sam's watching this, Sam, you're my boy. It's live from the 5-hole. You can find it on any place you get podcasts. It's very Chicago sports heavy. You probably wouldn't like it, but I'm on it, and we have a good time. So you can check that out if you want.
People love listening to you speak. And I'm sure, I mean, you said Chicago sports. What I'm hearing is you guys do a CM Punk podcast.
That's right.
For me, subscribe to this channel. We're going to be putting more of these preview shows on YouTube, hoping to do one for every pay-per-view coming up, which looks like it's going to be a bit more frequently from AEW. And then, like Slak said, Mondays, 7 p.m. in the West, 10 in the East. We're doing WBCW Meltdown. Come see if we're all talk, or if we can also walk, as we book our own eFed and Fire Pro Wrestling, and we watch 2 matches every card. It's fun. The crew and crowd that we have on Mondays is very culty. It's very, people love WBCW and are invested in where it's going. So come join that. And on Wednesdays, the moment Dynamite ends, every single week, the Sword and Shield, the Zoobs, and I go through Dynamite top to bottom. We play a game every week. It's very fun. That's the A show. And besides that, nothing else for me to say, except I hope everybody enjoys Full Gear. Twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain the moment it ends. I'm loving energy.